up and running. Years, and for her to take time out of her busy schedule to be on this show, I am elated. I am grateful, and I appreciate you joining our show today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm introducing to you Mrs. Ebony Porter-Ike. Round of applause. Round of
Now,
applause.
Toby, you're from Nigeria, right?
Yes. You want me to
Okay.
say it the way we said in Nigeria? Ebony
What
Porter-Ike.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Okay. I was about to say, I expected
All
you
right.
to say, okay.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I understand. I understand. But the way we pronounce it, where we come from, Ebony Porter-Ike.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep. Ike. Yep. That's right. So I'm so happy that you joined us today to school us of how to manage relationships in the business that we're in today. Because we're in a
Yes,
rough business.
we are.
We're in a very rough. It is rougher than the drug game. Like my fiance would say, the business that we're in is rougher than the drug game.
Mhm.
So, yep. Because it's cutthroat. It's cutthroat. No money, no honey, pretty much.
That's right.
So no one can introduce themselves or talk about themselves more than the individual themselves. So, Miss Ebony, you have the floor. Please tell us more about you and a quick bio of who you are, and then we can get into the meat and potatoes.
Okay. Just real quick, I am the president and CEO of the EPI Media Group, which is a PR marketing and branding conglomerate. We are a global agency, but we are based in Atlanta, right inside of Truist Park. I also am the visionary and founder of Ebony Eyes Entertainment, where I also am the executive producer for documentaries, movies, and scripted projects. And so we are also based here in Atlanta, but we do projects all over the country as well. So I do that. I also have a podcast by the name of Coinology, which is a methodology that I created. And it's all about the mindset of making money while utilizing your gifts at the exact same time. So I'm an author, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. There's so many different elements to what I do. But that's me.
Okay, that's awesome. That is awesome. So I've laid the groundwork up. General, you got the ball.
Outstanding. Welcome, Miss Porter. I will tell you that the last part kind of intrigued me when you talked about yourself, about the mindset. I'm very passionate about that, and your about your business. What made you get into this particular business?
Well, as far as the publicity business or or the production of, producing, which side are you talking about? Or both?
Let's talk about both of them. What excited you the most? Which one are you the most passionate? I know we say that we're passionate about both, but there's always that one that takes a little bit edge more than the other. Which one are you most passionate about?
I will say that I'm extremely, this may sound cliche, but I'm very passionate about both. And I'll tell you why. From the PR perspective, I enjoy helping people bring their dreams to life. I enjoy understanding what someone's dreams are and helping them create the steps needed to get there. So that's very important for me. And then from the producing side of the house, I'm a storyteller. So I love being able to create something from nothing. So it's the same thing on both sides. Most of my clients come to me with an idea without understanding how they're going to get to the other side. And it's my job to orchestrate the story and help them get there successfully. So it's as if I'm doing the same thing in both businesses. It's just different vehicles.
Ah, okay, so it almost sounds like what we call like life coaching. You putting them in that place where they have an idea or they have a passion, and you help them bridge that gap to get to their dream.
Not necessarily life coaching. What I do is publicity. PR and marketing and branding and social media and so forth. And then I also am a creator. So I create movies and documentaries and series and things of that nature. So it's not really life coaching, but what I do is take someone's concept, someone's idea, and I'm the one who actually executes on it. So it's more of a visionary and an executionary in one piece. As you know, James and Tobie, it's very rare that you can find someone who can do both sides of the coin. Most people are either an executionary person or they're visionary. My job requires me to be able to do both.
Okay. That you do have a very unique place where you're correct to be able to do both, because normally you would do one or the other and be real good at it. And there's a rarity there. Tell us, what was the most passionate storytelling of a production you've done?
I would probably say one of my most recent projects, which was the #1 docuseries of all times for Peacock, which is the Casey Anthony story, Where the Truth Lies. I got a lot of flack for that. One, because a lot of African American viewers actually had questions around why I chose to executive produce a project for a white woman that was accused of murdering her daughter. Why did I give her a voice? And why wasn't I working on other Black projects or other Black shows? But one of the things in particular that I let everyone know, I am a creative. I am a producer. I am a publicist. I do not put myself in the box to only do Black stories. I believe that I am universal in nature, and we as Black people have to stop always being put in a box and being told that we only can tell certain stories. We can tell all stories. So I will tell you that's probably one of the most complexing projects that I've worked on to date.
What type of challenges? I'm sorry, James. I didn't know.
No, you go ahead.
What type of challenges do you face in this world of PR? Kind of challenges that you face that you can share with people who are interested in going into that arena. What are the red flags? What are the things that they need to look out for? What kind of attributes will it take for someone to have this type of will it take for them to be successful in this position, in that role?
You have to have thick skin. You can't be overly sensitive about the word no. If you're sensitive about the word no, hang up PR, hang up production, because you're going to get more no's than you get yeses. And I tell my staff this all the time. You have to send out 20 pitches before you get one yes. So if you're sitting around and you're only sending 1 or 2 pitches a day, it's going to take you all month before you get that one hit. There's so many people who are always perplexed about, well, how do we have so many placements? But we work our ass off. We work consistently over and over and over and over again. We're constantly pitching, and and when we get a no, we don't stop there. We're following up and we're saying, well, what can we do differently? How can we change this? What do we need to do differently? What about next time? What are you looking for? You have to open up and have those conversations in order to understand how to modify your pitch in order to win. So those things are important. If you're not a go-getter, if you are afraid of no, and if you don't have consistency, you will not be successful in public relations or as a producer.
So, Ms. Porter, can I ask you a question? Who was the one who inspired you to be who you are today?
Well, I don't know that there's just one person. I never knew that what I do today existed as a little girl. So where I came from was an urban city in Virginia. So I came from Hampton, Virginia. I had no viewpoint of entertainment, of publicity, of producing. That wasn't even something that was in my purview. So I would say, but once I got here, I had opportunities to meet some really amazing individuals, some that are in this industry, some that are not. I'll say, one of my, top mentors of all times, her name is Jamesetta Strickland. She was a mentor of mine when I was in corporate America. She was one of the first ones who saw something in me that I didn't even know existed. She was able to pull me to the side and say, I see something special in you. And she wanted to hone on that. And she saw things in me that I didn't see in myself. She gave me a sense of confidence that I didn't know existed in me. And so I would say that. And then as I, gravitated over into the publicity side, I saw great individuals such as April Love. I used to go to her events and be amazed about how, how well she put it together and how she was able to orchestrate so many great things within the PR industry. I would say over on the production side, my producing partner, Tamara Simmons, actually seeing her come from PR and actually live out her dream and not just be a quote unquote Black producer, but international producer and producing major projects for major networks lets me know I can do it too. I don't have to be put into a box. I saw so many, when I see other sisters winning, it lets me know I can do it too. I'm not one to say only one person can do this, only one person can win. Every time I see another sister win, it's a celebration for me too, because it lets me know I can do it too.
All right, all right. So in this male predominant area of PR as well as doing the production side, how does it look now that you did this major documentary? How does it look now? Do you get more opportunities? Are you looked at more often now?
Most definitely, yes. I get calls every single day with opportunities, with great ideas, but I was getting those even before the documentary. So you have to keep in mind that I work in public relations, and one of my areas of expertise is in crisis management. So when I get crisis cases that come into the
Olivia
office,
Pope.
well, when I get those cases that come into the office, those cases typically want to share their side of the story. And the easiest way to broadcast your story is through production. And so I get access to a lot of once in a lifetime stories that most people are amazed to know that, these individuals called me. They called the office looking for me, and I didn't have to go out and scout for them. So I get a lot of those calls, and we get opportunities. Our phone stays ringing all the time. Our production manager and operations manager here at the agency, Lisa Walker, she is constantly fielding calls and making sure that there are projects that fit the alignment of the agency. So yes, we do get a lot of calls.
Like I said, Olivia Pope. Okay, so crisis management. So, and have you ever had difficult situations when it comes to crisis management? And you don't have to give names, but how were you able to rectify it? Do you have an example of how to rectify?
Well, I can't go into too much details around crisis management because the information is too proprietary, but I will tell you, yes, and the best way to handle crisis management is to actually think about the root cause of the issue. What is it that is really causing pain to the public? Address it on the forefront. So immediately address it, talk about how it's going to be rectified, and then at that point, move into silence. Sometimes people they talk too much, they stay in the public eye too long, they share too much information, or what they do a lot of talking, but then they're not saying anything, they're too elusive. So you have to be clear because the individuals that are watching are looking for reactions, and they're looking for you to have some type of closure But to continue to talk and talk and talk and talk about something once it's been closed down, like for instance, this Jonathan Major situation, if you notice, after the crisis, now they're pairing him up with
Megan Good.
Megan Good to try to change the narrative of the story. This is solely, if you from a PR world, you can see the PR moves right before your eyes. So you just have to pay attention and then move as you need to.
Okay. Now I got a situational question for you. As
Mhm.
everybody knows what's going on with this kid, Ja Morant. Ja Morant was suspended, first suspension for 8 games in the NBA because he was waving a gun in the club. A couple of days ago, after the 8-game suspension, he said he went to therapy, he did this and that, trying to get his act together. It cost him $39 million. He lost $39 million that was taken from him because of his behavior. About 72 hours ago, he was caught again in the car with a couple of his friends, again, with a gun in his hand. This guy is a superstar for the NBA, Memphis Grizzlies. He's a superstar. Now, they need crisis control. This kid is, I don't know. What would you do if they came to you?
Well, for one, I would have him issue a statement.
Okay.
As an apology statement, and also, as you said, he would need to go through some type of counseling and awareness. But let me also state something to be aware. Him having a gun is not illegal if he is licensed to have the gun. And if he can have, if the mayor or the governor of Tennessee can have rifles, him and his entire family can have rifles in front of a Christmas tree and send them out as Christmas cards. Explain to me the difference between an NBA player doing that. They both hold responsibility to the public. And then the times that we live in right now, where there's shooters on the run and people are needlessly losing their family members, everyone has to take responsibility. So I would definitely say that he would need to write a letter. He would need to apologize. He would need to explain the importance of children understanding that guns are a serious matter and they're not to be played with. But at the same token, Tobie, I think the same amount of energy needs to be given to that governor or mayor or whoever the gentleman is that also waved the gun around, well, had the rifles in front of the Christmas tree. We need to also be aware of that. Right now, gun laws, this is the thing, Tobie. You have to be careful. We are saying that we live in a free country. The NRA, every child, every person, everybody should be able to embody a gun. But when this young Black man has a gun, then the world is in an uproar. Explain to me why.
Okay.
Why?
What's
the difference between him doing that and
it's
this
a double
governor?
standard. It's a
double standard. It's a huge, and not only is it a double standard, he had the governor, the wife, and the 2 kids. They had rifles in front of a Christmas tree, and they mailed them out for Christmas cards.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see an uproar, and it was sent out right around the time there was a mass shooting in that same state. So again, I ask, why isn't there an uproar about that?
Good. That's valid. It's a double standard. But from the NBA's point of view,
do you know how
he was already got in trouble for that once. He got in trouble for that once. He was suspended, 8-game suspension. He lost about $40 million because of that. You would think that, okay, I'm not trying to lose no money anymore. His sponsors pulled the plug on him. He's lost a lot of money. That alone, I guess common sense is not that common. When you've been struck like that, we know the double standard in the society we live in today. I get it. But when you notice something like that has messed up your flow and you go around and you do the exact same thing again, then what?
So you have
where do you go from there?
You have 2 things you can say. If I were representing the NBA, or am I representing him? Because if I'm representing the NBA, the first quick and swift thing to do would be to fire him.
Okay.
Because it's not.
That's the fine coming. It's either he's going to get suspended.
It's not a fine. I would fire him.
Well,
because
the Grizzlies have already pulled the plug on him. They've suspended all activities with him.
The
he's
NBA, the NBA
should still has to. Yeah, the NBA still has to do something. More than likely, he might get canceled for half of next season.
No, this is the thing. If you're going to take a stance, you have to take a stance. And sometimes that stance is a painful stance. What has happened is they already gave him a warning, and he showed that that warning was not sufficient. So if you do the same thing again, you're going to just send the message that you can continue to misbehave and we'll just slap your hand. Mm-hmm. So the question is, am I handling crisis for the NBA or am I handling crisis for him? Because it would be handled totally different.
Right. Okay. That's fair. That's
when
good.
You're running a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you can't you can't waver. You have to make a very swift decision and move on. And unfortunately, he's replaceable. Everybody's replaceable in corporate, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, it's replaceable. You know, I posted something out there because I was so upset when I saw that. And I'm like, oh, you have got to be kidding me. I'm like, Mr. Morant, what are you doing? You got too much head to be this stupid. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You know, I'm like, where are your parents? Okay, you're young. Where are your parents? Your father sits courtside with you. And you mean to tell me that your father doesn't give you that tutelage to say, dude, you got to be careful with the friends that you're with. You can't take everybody with you when you make it. You can't.
But I'm confused if we're sending a double message in this country. So for a white man and his family to carry a gun, there's nothing wrong with that. But for this young black man to have a gun, all of a sudden he's a thug. Well, I'm confused by the message.
Well, I didn't peg him as a thug. It's what society is deeming him as right now. He wants to be part of a Blood or Crips or whatever. Heck, even the Crips and Bloods are saying they don't appreciate him representing them out there like that. You know, he don't want that life. Some famous sportscaster said, brother, you don't want that kind of life. No, you don't. Stick to what you do. Stick to what you do because that life is not for you. You know, I just from my own personal point of view, I just feel like, you know, it's first of all, the people that's hanging out with you, they should know, they should be even protecting you, not putting you out there to hang you to dry. Because his friends.
Well, this is the thing, Tobie, no one's going to protect you but yourself. When you're out here in this industry, everyone around you is a shark. Everyone's trying to see what they can get. Everyone's a leech. You have to be very careful about that. Those friends are probably the ones who put the gun in his hand and put him in the situation that he was in. You have to be very careful. So what I will tell you is that I agree with you. He got his hand slapped, but I do think that it sends a very confusing message in this country that certain things are tolerated with the exact same weapon with certain people and is not tolerated with others. And I think that when we say, well, what are you doing? I thought we said that it was legal to have mass assault weapons in this country. It's legal.
Shouldn't be, but it is.
But it is. It's legal. So what exactly did this young man do to break the law?
I said, all right.
It's probably not the law per se. It is probably NBA violations.
Probably.
They have their own rules as well. Besides the state laws or federal laws or whatever, they have their own rules.
State and federal. There are no state and federal laws when it comes to the gun. We see that now. They're allowing mentally ill people. That's the problem.
That's a problem. NBA, he violated NBA's policy. Definitely violated it. Otherwise, the team wouldn't have suspended him that quick. They wouldn't have suspended him that quick. So, but James, hey, you passed my question with flying colors. With straight A student. I bet you were straight A's in school too. But, James, you got the ball.
Well, I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents worth about that situation. I think probably what it really was is not only the NBA sent that part about the violation, but unless someone was in that vehicle who was a convicted felon, right, and that weapon was in there, that's probably why he got pulled over. And the old folks used to say, if you show me your fringe, I'll show you the sum of who you are.
Mhm.
And with that particular situation is that I believe you're right, Ms. Porter. I believe something has to be sent, because what they're saying is, yeah, that white man is wrong for doing that, right? And he's a governor. But we look at y'all sports stars, as example. Double standard, because that governor is supposed to be someone who sets a standard too. But with that, it's almost like guilty by association. So I'm going to get you for being with the wrong people. The first time you got sort of a freebie. This time I'm coming after you to make an example out of you. The sad part about it is there is truly a double standard. We know that there's a double standard through the whole.
And said,
This country was built on that.
Mm-hmm.
So my job, James, as a crisis manager, would be to highlight that, to bring attention to that, bring attention to the fact that he has done nothing, he has not broken any laws in this country, that what the lawmakers have said is X, Y, and Z. We apologize for any inconvenience or confusion. So that is what we would do. We would face it straight on. We'll talk about the facts. And I would highlight the double standards, because what you do in crisis management, you have to divert the attention from what people are focusing on and bring the attention back to what you want them to see.
Right.
So that was just an example to Tobie as to how I would have handled it if I were handling it for him versus if I were handling it for the NBA. With the NBA, you have to have a no tolerance at the second infraction.
Correct. Because we see that played out when about 20 years ago with Ray Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
And that commissioner, Goodell, he told him to his face, you got off, but I'm going to tell you, you better change your company, because you come here the next time, we're not going to have any mercy from you. And from that point on, he changed. But let's change it up. Miss Ebony,
Mm-hmm.
your family, I know that as one who is an owner and all, how does being mom, businesswoman, and wife fits into that heavy schedule that you have?
Mm-hmm.
In business relationships, do you block off specific times? I know certain people who do block off times, but do people who are in your career field, do they intentionally block off time, or do they just fit time in there wherever they can?
No, you have to block off time. It's important. If you try to fit time in wherever you can, you'll never make enough time, and you will find yourself divorced and alone. Okay, so you have to make sure you make time for your significant other, for your children, and so forth. So I have to block in time for my family and my family events on my calendar. So if there's something that my daughter needs and I need to be somewhere, if it's something for my son, if it's something for my husband, I have to block it out on my calendar, because when you are extremely driven, your mind gets caught into just being focused on what you have in front of you. And it's very easy for the day to get away from you. And so I need to have my calendar or some type of reminder that I have so-and-so to do, or I have to go somewhere else. So I'm really big on checking my day the night before and even that morning to ensure that I stay on top of things. But yeah, you have to make it has to be a conscious effort If you ever just make your family just something that you just fit in when you can, you won't have a family very long.
Mm. Yeah.
Do you find any of your children desiring to go in your career field?
Yeah, I mean, it
Because
seems
sometimes-
that both of my children have interest in my career field. I try not to be extremely pushy about it, because usually when you try to push your kids into doing something, they go the opposite way. But it just seems naturally that both of them have expressed the interest in learning more about what it is I do. I think they're excited about they just see some of the glitz and glam. They don't necessarily see, well, my son now sees it because he's here at the agency. He works in the production department, so he sees what we do on this side of the fence. But it's very easy for people just to see the shine on social media or at events or on red carpets, but they don't know all the work that goes into making those things possible. But yes, both of my kids have expressed interest.
I always
Well,
find that
sometimes-
about children who are watching parents who own businesses. They're like, "Hey, mom," or "Hey, dad, I like to know more about that." What would be the first step that you would tell someone who's coming up who wants to get into production? What would be the first step that you would show them or tell them how to navigate that career field?
Well, first, I would tell them they need to become a production assistant. They need to actually get on set and learn the dynamics of a set, learn the lingo, learn the different roles. Because once you're a PA on a set, you can then see the different dynamics of a full set and determine where you fit. So I think it's very important to start there, navigate, network, and get deep into whatever it is. I think most people today, my biggest challenge, James, is that most people come straight into it wanting to be an executive producer day one, and they don't even know the how to formulate an idea, how to sell an idea, how to develop an idea, how to manage an entire set of crew. And so I just think it's important to come in and learn the different elements of a set before you kind of come in and try to run a set.
I'm seeing the vast. I talked to someone and I see the vast difference between production here on the East Coast or down here in the Southeast with Atlanta, and how production would be in California, in LA, of those experienced actors. Being that you've been around and you've dealt with a lot of production, can you tell us about the vast difference between Hollywood and here now?
Well, what I would say is that a lot of the sets here, people tend to see it not being as structured as it is in LA and sometimes in New York. That's some sets. I run a very tight set. So if anybody's ever been to any of my productions or any of my shows, they see our team runs like a well-oiled machine. I pretty much run our team here like we are a LA set or New York set. But a lot of them here, it's sort of like, did either one of you guys pledge when you were in college?
This close. I was going to be
So
a Q.
nobody pledged.
I
So
was
what
gonna
you'll
be a
find,
Q.
what was going to be, or are you?
No. I decided not to. I saw horror stories, what they did to my cousin. And
Well,
that was
that's the point I'm about to say. A lot of the horror stories come from the fact that people are trying to replicate something that they know nothing about. They saw school days or they heard uncles and aunts and so forth talk about the good old days of pledging, and they're trying to replicate something and they're making a big mess on their hands. And it's the same thing that you may find here in Atlanta when it comes down to productions. Many of them are trying to replicate something they know nothing about. And in turn, you have a mess. So again, it goes back to people really taking the time to study their craft and really know what it is they're doing, spending some time on some sets in LA, spending some time on some sets in New York, really learning from some of the greats, and not trying to nickel and dime it and guess it and create something they think it's supposed to be, but really learning.
Mm.
That's good, because I heard a lot of people say they're not professional like the people out there. It's like they haven't gone to school. They just throwing stuff together. They think they can act because they've been in a scene or two, and no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the I'm in the middle of a project right now, my first full feature film, and and we had to put it on hold because we had some situations in production. Our cinematographer lost his mom, so we had to give some time, and and resume filming in June. But I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and I went to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school for it. I knew I had the gift of being an actor, but I had to harness it by going to school for it, to harness the craft that I have. So
Mm-hmm.
from there, I was able to cross over and learn more about production. The point I'm trying to make here is people think they can act, people think they can produce. Yet I think you touched on it earlier, Miss Ebony. People act
Mm-hmm.
that they want to be an executive producer without even knowing what's the first couple of things you do when you want to start a film. What are the things you need to have in place? Some of these people don't know. I've been on sets where I've walked off like, you've got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about full feature film projects, and I'm like sitting there like, okay, I wouldn't have done it that way, wouldn't that way. And then sometimes eventually I end up getting involved in the production because they want to told me, why didn't you say something? I said, well, because it's not my production. So that's why I didn't say anything. But here's what I would do it. So the point I'm trying to make here is, if you're going to get into something, you need to make sure you've done some serious homework on it. Go to
Mm-hmm.
YouTube University. YouTube University, okay? YouTube University has everything. If you sit and you want to know about production, if you pull out 10 to 20 videos, you would at least have an idea of where you would start. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, this environment that we're in is grimy. It's really grimy. So and I had to learn things the hard way. I had to learn things the hard way from people. I had to learn, and the do's and don'ts. That's why I take my time now when I produce and run my own project. I take my time filming it. I want to put out quality. You want to put out quality, not quantity. Because people just make a bunch of stuff and it's just horrible. It's
Mm-hmm.
just horrible. But when you do quality and you put out a good piece of product, even though if it takes you a while, that anticipation will be building for someone to anticipate be building for the viewers. Like, Tobie, when are you going to drop another one? I said, give it time, give it time. So in the world of PR,
Mm-hmm.
imagine if I come to you and I said, okay, I need help. I have this film. Here's what I have. Here's the synopsis. Here's the treatment. Here's the screenplay. And if you wanted to take me on, what would you do? What would you require?
Well, that's two different things, because publicity is not about isn't the same as production. So those are two different companies and two different offerings.
From a PR perspective.
So from a PR perspective, one, I have to see the project, understand whether or not it's something aligned with the brand of the agency, because we wouldn't take on certain projects. And then understand what your goals are from that. And then we'll talk about what the retainer and the rates would be to actually do what's required. So I think for me, it's more so of understanding the scope of the particular ask, and then whether or not the person could afford the amount that's being asked for to do the services that's needed. So I couldn't give the amount until I know exactly what the ask.
Okay.
But it's really more so understanding, I would sit down with the person and try to understand where they're trying to go with the project. Are they trying to go to film festivals? Are they trying to sell the project? Are they just trying to use the project to get more name notoriety? It's just, I would need to understand a little bit more about the goal of the project.
Okay. Okay. James?
Miss Ebony, got a
Yes.
question for you.
Mm-hmm.
In today's society, everything moves fast, from internet stardom to all types of people who are able to sing, dance, act. These people is what we call back in my day, you had a rep. But my question to you is, how does one protect their brand?
Being very cautious about what they align themselves with. So it's one of the things, for instance, if you look at yourself as an influencer online, you can't promote every single brand that may come to you. You have to be, the brand needs to align with the brand in which you stand for. You can't just make moves strictly off of money. It has to make sense. And this is one of the things, for instance, I was just answering Tobie's question. It's important to understand a person's end goal. If you understand where a person is trying to go, it will better help you understand if opportunities are aligned with that brand. It will let you know if those opportunities will help that person or that entity get to the end goal. If you understand what the end goal is, if you don't, you're just out here taking all types of opportunities, and some of these opportunities may pay well, but may also diminish your brand. So it's all about, in order for people to properly manage their brand, they have to really understand the strategy of brand management. If you do not understand that, and that's not a cliche word, that's not something everybody out here now is saying it on social media, but it's really a science behind managing a brand properly. If you don't understand that, you can easily make a lot of mistakes.
Okay, because I see that a lot of people say they have a brand and that they want to protect it, and that maybe they should get a particular name. Let's just use this show for instance, and it's like, okay, someone else comes from somewhere else and use this particular name of this show, and that's the part of I guess that's the PR side of understanding and managing the brand. Is that correct?
Well, that's more like trademarking, I believe, what you're saying, and making sure that somebody doesn't misuse the name and the brand inappropriately. At that point, you would bring in a trademark attorney that would provide a cease and desist and ensure that someone stops misusing the brand. But when you say about managing a brand properly, that's more so making sure you are doing things that's in line with your brand. Let's say if you're a Christian brand, you shouldn't be necessarily, let's say you're a Christian t-shirt line. You may not want to promote your brand inside of a strip club or at a cigar lounge. You want to make sure you're promoting your brand in places that are aligned with the same morals and ethical values as your brand. And so that's what I mean about making sure that you have a strategy.
Got it. Tobie?
For somebody who's about to start, for example, like how you said your son, it looks like your son is going to follow your path. Let's say Joe Schmo off the street walks up to you, Miss Ebony, how can I get in? I want in. I see how you were rubbing shoulders with Russell Crowe or Denzel Washington, or how can I get in for, to where you are? Do I need to go to school or anything? What kind of path what kind of blueprint would you recommend for them, or you would give a Joe Schmo off the street who approaches you?
One is, there is no specific blueprint, Tobie. But what I would say is, if somebody were that interested in learning from me, the best way to learn from me would be to intern at my agency or to obtain a role here at the agency. My hours and my time is so limited between working here and then being a mom and a wife, that the only time I can really spend giving direction is with the folks that are here at the agency. So what I would recommend to them is to probably get with Lisa, which is our operations manager. She would ascertain that they had the skill set and met the criteria of opportunities here at the agency, and then come on board here. And then that way they can actually learn. I'm really big on people putting the blood, sweat, and equity in, not just talking about it, not just looking at it from the peripheral view, but in order to really get what I do and how I got to, you got to see it. You got to see the days where I'm frustrated. You got to see the days when the clients are on the phone, you know, completely upset. You got to see the days when people come in the office and they don't know at all what they're going to do. You got to see the days where you have a client that's completely dismayed and we have to come up with a plan and turn it around within less than 5 days. And when we successfully are able to do that, you have to be in here when we have to execute on a major grand opening in less than 3 weeks. You have to be in the crutches. You have to actually be here and experience what it's like to learn from me. I can't teach you something just talking to you over the phone. I can't teach you something just coming in here and having a mentoring session and me giving you advice. You have to actually get in the grind and get in the fire with me to learn what I do. And that would be my solution and my suggestion. My son is he's an intern here. He has to. It's not about I'm mommy when I'm at home. When he's here in his office, I'm not that. I'm his boss when he's here in the office, and he has to sit back and learn just like everybody else. And that's the only way I can teach you. I can't teach you any other way.
What do you value as what is the biggest attribute that you value for somebody who wants to get in? What is the first thing that you would want to see that say, you know what, he's got some of the chops? From your own personal perspective, what would you value? What's your biggest attribute?
Consistency, integrity, and drive. A person, and lastly, relationships. I need somebody to bring something to the agency that we don't already have. I'm no longer in the business, Tobie, of just pouring into people that won't pour back into me.
Say it again.
So
for the viewers, say it one more time.
I'm no longer interested in that. So I've gotten up from tables from that just constantly take from me. So even though a person comes, they're learning from me and they're getting exposure and they're getting opportunities, I also have to see where it's beneficial to me as well. If there's no benefit there, then there's no match.
Correct. And that is where I am. That's where I am, right now. I'm on that same level right now where, I have given in this industry to a lot of people my effort, blood, sweat, and tears, and we're getting almost little or nothing in return. I can speak for myself, and also I can speak for my fiance as well. We've gone through a lot for people, and we got little or nothing. So you know what? People are dropping films right now, and if it wasn't for us, their films wouldn't be out there on Tubi, Hulu, or whatever. It's because of the work that we did for them, and we got little or nothing, not even a tidbit of a recognition. So we looked at each other. I said, you know what? It stops here now. We're going to put out our own production now. We're going to go full throttle on our own productions. We have loads of content that we can shoot and put it out there on our own. We need to put something out there because we've done it for everybody else. We need to put something out there, something with good quality. So, like you just said, we're not pouring anything anymore into people who's not giving back to us. Mm-hmm. It's not right. So what are we here for? I want to put on shoes too. You putting on shoes, I want to put on shoes too. There's an old African saying, I can't remember how my mother used to put it. She said, no, before you do for other people, you do for yourself. So it's like, you take care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you can take care of other people. That's how my mother used to say it. But she used to say it in a deeper Yoruba proverb. I can't remember what it is, but the point I'm trying to make here is like, you can't take care of other people if you're taking care of other people just going to be using you all over the place. It's like, you know what? He's not going to do anything. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. But you know what? I got something to prove that, you know what? If I can do for other people, I can do for myself. Yeah. It's a grimy industry. It's the industry, like I said in the beginning of the show. The industry is grimy. It is grimy.
It is.
You know?
Well, one of the things I will tell you too, Tobie, is exclusivity is a prize. So you should try to limit being seen everywhere, being accessible to everybody, and being in, as many, because when people feel as if they can just see you everywhere and they can easily
You know
access
what? Ebony, Money just said this a few weeks ago. She said you cannot make yourself available for anything and everybody. You can't do that. Even if you want to sit home and eat bonbons, it's nobody's business. You just can't make yourself. Your time has to be valued. Your
That's
time
right.
has to be cherished. Because if you're in every other thing out here, if you're doing this and that, and you're all over the place, people are not going to take you. People are going to take you for granted. Number one. Number two, people are not going to take you serious. Like, but when you're in people's presence, like, and they don't see you that often, like, dude, Tobie, how you doing? Like, people inbox me constantly. Tobie, when are you gonna cast me in the project? Tobie, when are you gonna do this? I'm not rushing. I'm gonna do it on my own time. I'll do it on my own time. So, Miss Ebony, I deeply agree with you on that. I deeply do. So, yeah. Based on what I'm getting now, I'm getting some information from our producer that we would like to have a part 2.
Okay.
So it looks like we are going to re-up like in another maybe 2-3 weeks. Well, you know how they do in this business. My people call your people, and see, and check your schedule and see when can you come back for part 2. But James, it looks like you got the ball and you're gonna close us out.
Well, Miss Ebony,
Yes.
I will say that I learned some things from you today. And when it comes to both sides of that career that you're on, to be a woman of color and to execute it with excellence takes a special type of person. Because the way that you talk and the way that you handle yourself, I can see that you handle crisis very well. And you don't let a lot of things get up underneath your skin, and you don't let things frustrate you to where it causes you to have confusion. That was my takeaway on how you talk and to us about the questions we asked you. I will tell you, unless you're in whatever career field you're in, you must have experience in that career field. And I would dare say, Miss Ebony, we're proud of you because it took a lot of effort to get there. It's not an easy road. I will tell you that. I also tell you, I'm proud of you that you take that time out for your family. Because one of the things I always tell people is at the end of the day, I don't care how much money you have and how famous you can be. At the end of the day, you want to surround yourself with people who love you. And that's normally going to be your inner circle of your family. 1 or 2 people that might have worked with you, but really it's going to be your family. So I want to get that out of the way, Miss Porter, and just say we're proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was done.
Then you go ahead and close out.
No, I thought I was done, but this really was in my spirit. I want the viewers who is watching it or who's going to watch this to know. I said in the beginning of the show, I said this Miss Ebony Porter-Ike has been a woman I've been following when I first started acting 7 years ago. And I remember, I think I touched on it last time we met at the Black Film Awards, Media Awards. I said I had a conversation with you about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't think you remember, but I took what you said to heart. I took it to heart, and it motivated me. By then, I didn't have the body of work that I have now, and you told me to keep grinding. You know, my uncle used to pick on us when we do things too quick. He's like, you were trying to climb the tree from the middle. When you try to climb the tree from the middle instead of from the bottom, when you fall hard. But when you start from the very bottom, it's also in an African proverb. I can't translate it right now. But it said when you start from the bottom and you gradually go up, if you fall, it won't be as bad as when you're climbing from the middle. The point I'm trying to make here is you told me to build your body of work. I'll never forget. Build your body of work. You just started. I see something in you. I see what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish. You build that work. Build your body of work, and I'll be there. And I'll never forget. And that has motivated me. That's part of the things that has motivated me. That's why I'm like, I'm not letting that lady go. I'm gonna come back and see her. I'm gonna come back and see her. So the point I'm trying to make is to piggyback of what James said. I applaud you. I follow you. I follow your business. I am one of your biggest fans. If not your biggest, your family's your biggest fan. But I'm right there behind you. I applaud you. The woman that you are, you know, you talk about black girls rock, black women rock. Yeah, you one of them.
Well, thank you.
You know, and I just wanted to make sure I put that out there that you have been part of my inspirations, people of inspiration. You know, it's inspiring, it's motivating, because one day I'm gonna come knocking and I said, okay, here's my body of work. Because when you see my body of work, you're gonna say like, you know, Tobie just made it easy for me. I've seen his body of work. I see what he's capable of doing. This is what this man has done. So, and you continue to motivate me. And I want to thank you for that this evening. In front of the world, in front of the fans. Thank you. Ladies, look her up. Look Miss Ebony Porter-Ike, not Ike. Ike, make sure you look her up. And Miss Ebony, where can people see you or hook up with you for business? Or how can they meet up with you?
So you can find me on Instagram under the Ebony Porter-Ike. Our agency is under EPI Media Group, and then my production company is under Ebony Eyes Entertainment. I do handle business through DM. So I know a lot of people say, don't DM me, da, da, da. If you are interested in scheduling a consult, definitely hit us up through DM or call our office at 770-635-8170. And someone from the office will be in contact with you and schedule some time for us to talk.
Now, this is something really wild and crazy, but this is a question I forgot to ask. I want to see if I can get it in. Why is it that celebrities do not respond in the DMs? Is it a contractual issue? Is it a contractual reason? For example, let's pick a big celebrity out there right now. Why is it that they don't respond to their DMs?
Because people are crazy. People are crazy. So when a person sends in a request for a consult, you know, they will be vetted. So there are individuals here at the office. Jasmine's going to call and talk to you and vet you out and things of that nature before a consult is scheduled. But the reason why people are crazy, there's a lot of stalkers, and you have to be very, very, very careful.
Okay. Short and sweet answer. Okay.
Yep.
Sweet answer. But ladies and gentlemen, family, friends out there, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And we will be having a part 2. Stay tuned. Thank you for, you know, Miss Ebony, thank you so much for being on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, family, friends out there, you will be seeing Miss Ebony Porter-Ike again very soon. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. And we will see everyone next week with another episode of Mind of a Man.
Thank you.
Congrats, everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.